Hello everyone, I'm a Broken Robot. I've made a few videos on Pokemon cards and Pokemon related topics over the past year, and I thought it would be a fun idea to finally rank the Pokemon card expansions from the Sword and Shield era, as it just wrapped up during the beginning of 2023. Sword and Shield was a particularly important era for the Pokemon TCG for myself personally, since it's the first time that I've seriously collected cards since the Platinum era, with Rising Rivals being the last set I seriously collected all the way back in 2009. In order to keep this list fair and more importantly interesting, I took the liberty of ranking the sets based on Pokemon found in the set, the variety of cards in the expansion, and most importantly the types of rares, full arts, and alternate art cards that can be found in the TCG sets. For this list I will only be counting official sets, and will be grouping all subsets under one umbrella, so I don't want to hear anyone complaining about trainer gallery sets not being on the list. They are included, they're just not given their own section. I will also be excluding promotional sets, so don't expect to see any McDonald's or British football promo cards on this list. Even if you're not a fan of Pokemon cards, I promise you won't be disappointed with my take on the Sword and Shield era, and I'll be sure to feature cards of all variety as you watch, so stay tuned for an interesting video to say the least. Number 18, Trick or Trade. Coming in dead last for our ranking of the Pokemon card Sword and Shield era expansions is the Trick or Trade Halloween set. This was the first time the Pokemon Company had released a Halloween themed set, and while there was a lot of hype built up behind the release, when it finally reached store shelves on September 1st of 2022, it was quickly forgotten by collectors and players alike. The Halloween Trick or Trade set only had 30 possible cards to be pulled, and while the single case of the set came with dozens of packs, the packs themselves only held 3 cards. The idea behind this set was that parents of Pokemon collectors could hand out these small cheap packs of Halloween themed cards instead of candy, and while I personally was a big fan of this idea, when the set first came out I was quickly underwhelmed like most of the Pokemon card fanbase. The set was composed entirely of reprints from other Sword and Shield sets, and while there was the novelty of a Pikachu pumpkin stamp in the lower right hand corner to add some rarity and collectability to the cards, the singular fact of how small this set was and how most of the cards were relatively common made it have little value for collectors. Funny enough, if you're looking to pick up a complete master set of the Trick or Trade 2022 collection, they can be found on eBay for as low as $10. It's definitely the cheapest way to get a master set in 2023. Number 17, Rebel Clash. Rebel Clash was a very unpopular set from its release on May 1st of 2020 to its final reprint of January of 2023. The set heavily featured Pokemon from Generation 3 and Generation 6, and while the set was full of hyper rare rainbow and gold cards, there wasn't a single full art Pokemon to be collected from this expansion, besides a few V full arts that awkwardly placed Pokemon over tie-dyed backgrounds. Rebel Clash's only strength is that all 4 of its full art trainers were solid cards in terms of look, playability, and design, with Boss's Orders from Rebel Clash being one of my favorite cards to this day. Overall, while Rebel Clash tried to have a wide variety of Pokemon featured in its expansion, it suffered heavily from reprints that made the set unpopular among collectors, and the lack of variety among secret rare, gold, and rainbow cards made Rebel Clash forgettable at best and dog water as a set at worst. When compared to other sets on the list, it just can't hold a candle. Number 16, Champion's Path. When Champion's Path was released on September 25th of 2020, it was a wildly popular set because of one sole card. The now famous Charizard V Alt Art Shiny Secret Rare was the chase card for this set. There was some minor hype around the set's Rainbow Rare card of Gardevoir VMAX and Charizard VMAX being featured, but the bulk of collectors at this point were hunting for the shiny Charizard V. This set suffered from 2 major setbacks. Besides the simple notion of the entire set's hype being based around a single Pokemon, first was the fact that Champion's Path being a specialty set meant that it was difficult for collectors to get the packs in bulk due to them only being acquired through promo boxes that were expensive and usually roped in other packs to pump up the box's price. Second, this set infamously had a tiny card count when compared to other specialty sets from this point in the timeline, like Pokemon Go and Shining Fates. However, Champion's Path had a much smaller card count. Collectors online complained about being frustrated getting so many duplicate cards while hunting for the Charizard. Having barely any full art trainers or V full arts, while the shiny Charizard V is a solid card, it's not enough to prop up an otherwise disappointing expansion. Number 15, Sword and Shield Base Set. The Sword and Shield base set, released on February 1st, 2020, was a relatively well-rounded set. It featured the Gen 6 starters as well as several Pokemon lines from across all generations of the Pokemon timeline. this set is what I would call painfully average. While this expansion had a nice variety of V Full Arts, Rainbow Rares, and Gold Secret Rares, the big chase card for this set was Snorlax V Max, and when compared to chase cards from other sets, it's nothing really to die over. This set had the complete opposite problem to the Champion Path situation. While Sword and Shield base set had a nice variety of common cards and a few excellent Full Art Trainers and V cards, being reprinted well into 2022 made this set's chase cards become less valuable and collectible over time, and many collectors stopped chasing the Snorlax VMAX card when it was just cheaper to buy in the secondary market. The heavy hitter rare pulls from this set were either unpopular Pokemon, poorly designed artwork, or downright boring uses of rare card slots. While I wouldn't say that the Sword and Shield base set is a horrible set overall, it was painfully average, which is why it's so low in my ranking. Number 14. Darkness Ablaze. Darkness Ablaze, released on August 14th, 2020, suffered from the same problems as Champion's Path, with the Charizard VMAX card being the main drive for the hype behind its release. But where Champion's Path suffered from a small card pool, Darkness Ablaze had a regular set count, with a decent variety of cards from generations 3, 5, and 6. Where this set suffers most is in its rare pulls. While the Charizard VMAX was the main chase card for this set, its full art trainers were rather mid when compared to sets that would come before and would come later in the timeline. While the V full art cards started looking much better by this point in the TCG timeline, many fans and collectors were unimpressed by the color swaps. The 5 gold rare cards mostly featured trainer gear and 2 Pokemon that they chose to feature. In gold rares were Rillaboom, that had been featured in other sets already, in Colossal, which while a perfectly fine Pokemon was far from a fan favorite, decreasing the overall good feeling around this expansion. Number 13. Battle Styles. Battle Styles, released on March 19th, 2021, was the first set in Sword and Shield to feature alternate full art cards. In fact, Battle Styles featured several bangers when looking at the rare cards that could be pulled from this expansion, featuring a gold rare Octillery and Houndoom along gorgeous alternate full art cards from Empoleon and Tyranitar that made this expansion initially have a lot of collectors excited. This set's major setback was its pull rates. While cards like Empoleon and Tyranitar alt arts were extremely popular, they had rates of being pulled in 1 in 1800 packs, making them grossly difficult to get, forcing collectors to buy more packs than they would want to in order to hunt for these specific cards. This set also suffered from an underwhelming pool of common and uncommon cards, featuring mostly unpopular or forgettable Pokemon from generations 2, 5, and 6, making it more favorable for collectors to buy their chase cards on the secondary market instead of spending a small fortune to pull it the old-fashioned way. Later reprints and several of the common cards being reprinted for other expansions in the Sword and Shield era only further added to the loss of prestige as future sets were released. Number 12. Fusion Strike. The now infamous Fusion Strike expansion set was released on November 12, 2020. This set featured the most alternate art cards for a single expansion at the time in the history of the Pokemon TCG, and while it had double the alt arts when compared to previous sets like Chilling Reign and Battle Styles, the Pokemon selected for the feature and the prestigious cards were rather poor picks, with Genesect, Greenadent, Sandaconda, and Inteleon being a waste for an alt art slot that could have gone to a more popular or well-designed Pokemon featured in the set. While cards like Espeon VMAX alt art and Gengar VMAX alt art were very popular, Fusion Strike suffered from being heavily reprinted. Additionally, alongside Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike was subject to a corporate theft that was revealed in 2022, where one US Pokemon employee attempted to steal the bulk of the big ticket chase cards from a set, disheartening fans and collectors, making it feel impractical to open Fusion Strike packs when the pull rates have been skewed by corporate espionage. While Fusion Strike has its chase cards, its poor catalog of full art trainers and Vs made the set very unpopular to go hard on when compared to other sets that were coming out around the same time. Number 11. Celebrations. The Celebrations set, released on October 8, 2021, was a specialty set created to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Pokemon TCG. However, while this set is held in high regards among Pokemon collectors, I think most of them fail to realize that more than half of the already tiny specialty set are just reprints from previously made sets with an oversized Pikachu stamp in the bottom right hand corner. While many of the new cards from this set, such as the Full Art Professor's Research or the homages to the flying and surfing Pikachu were very popular, many are perfectly serviceable cards that reference old parts of the TCG like Team Aqua, the Legendaries, and past trainers, but we need to be honest with ourselves here. Most of the cards were given a boring, barely noticeable holo pattern, and the ones who got the Celebrations holo pattern were either reprints of old cards or didn't deserve to be reprinted in the first place, cause I know Pokemon fans are just at the edge of their seat waiting for yet another Charizard base set reboot. A key flaw of the Celebrations expansion set was much like Champion's Path. You had to buy multiple promo boxes in order to get your hands on Celebration packs that, keep in mind, only had 3 cards in them in the first place. This means that collectors had to buy multiple boxes just to get 5 or 6 Celebration packs, making it a not very viable set for collectors on a budget or for people looking to pull interesting and unique cards who were horribly underwhelmed by the subpar reprint choices and the frank lack of creativity for what should have been such a milestone of an expansion. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but Celebrations wasn't just a mid-set, but a complete waste of an anniversary event. Number 10. Chilling Reign. Chilling Reign was released on June 18, 2021. While this set had a standard mix of Gen 1, 4, and 6 Pokemon in the lineup of common and uncommon cards, Chilling Reign was the second set ever to include alt art cards, and many fans weren't expecting the Pokemon Company to take the feedback from Battle Styles as well as they did. Battle Styles suffered from great chase cards, but suffered from a weak list of common and uncommon Pokemon that made collectors less likely to go out of their way to hunt cards instead of outright buying them on the secondary market. Chilling Reign was the complete opposite situation. While the Pokemon selection for common cards and trainers chosen for the full art cards were great, Chilling Reign's missed potential truly shows with its chase cards. While Galarian Moltres and Blaziken VMAX make great chase cards, but how many people are going out of their way to hunt for Galarian Slowking, or how about Galarian Zapdos, or even Ice Rider Clayrex? These cards are fine, and if you happen to be a Galarian Slowking fan, that's fine, but most Pokemon fans were utterly underwhelmed by Chilling Reign's chase cards. Not the worst set in the Sword and Shield era, but definitely lacking the pizzazz many Pokemon card fans had grown to love and expect. Number 9. Pokémon Go. The Pokémon Go themed set released on June 24th of 2022 and was a very well received set. While it only had 2 alt art cards consisting of Mewtwo and Conkeldurr, both were well received, and Pokémon Go also brought back the tradition of shiny Pokemon in non-specialty sets, with Radiant Eevee, Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard being featured as rares in this set. The Pokémon Go expansion had a heavy emphasis on Gen 1 Pokémon. While this was mostly because the majority of Pokemon in Pokémon Go at the time were Gen 1, the familiar faces only further inspired collectors to try and complete the full set and not just hunt the chase cards. Sadly, the Pokemon Go set would probably be higher on this list if it didn't suffer from one key flaw. Compared to other sets, Pokemon Go had a small pool of cards with only a total of 78 cards compared to the average sets that numbered around 200 separate cards. Because of this key flaw, many collectors got tired of pulling duplicate cards hunting for rare cards fast. Pokemon Go also suffered from heavy reprinting that made the value of chase cards fall like a lead balloon from the secondary market and collectible perspective. Pokemon Go was a good set that suffered from poor execution. Number 8. Shining Fates. The Shining Fates Specialty expansion was released on February 19th of 2022. This set, in terms of raw design, was an absolute slam dunk. It featured 78 cards, with the theme of many of the Pokemon being featured being shiny Pokemon. The chase card for this set was the shiny Charizard VMAX, but many of the shiny Pokemon were desirable by all different kinds of collectors. Its biggest flaw was the simple difficulty of pulling shiny Pokemon. According to PokeCollector.com, shiny Pokemon were seeded in 1 in 28 packs. While this pull rate wasn't horrendous when compared to alt arts or secret rare cards that can have pull rates as crazy as 1 in 1800 packs, it can't be ignored how frustrating it was for collectors when it came to a set themed around shiny Pokemon and not being able to pull any shinies. There are videos online of die-hard collectors opening box after box of Shining Fates only to walk away with a handful of shiny Pokemon. Additionally, because of these strict pull rates, many collectors online, and myself included, noticed how easy it was to rack up duplicate common and uncommon cards just by opening up a single Elite Trainer box. This set was designed well, but suffered from poor seeded pull rates that turned off Shining Fates to the majority of the fan base. With many of the shiny Pokemon cards only going for a few dollars on the secondary market, many collectors opted to buy cards off TCG Player versus taking their chances with gambling on packs. Not a bad set by any means, but it could have been so much better. Number 7. Vivid Voltage. Vivid Voltage, released on November 13th, 2020, and would be my number one set if it didn't suffer from one key issue, was a great set and a great expansion overall. When I originally showed this list to my peers, they were actually confused why Vivid Voltage was so high on the list. No alt arts, less full art trainers than the previous sets released, and it came out in between two much larger and much more popular sets. Well, my dear viewer, Vivid Voltage, in my opinion, out of all of the sets in the Sword and Shield era, is easily the most balanced. The set consisted of a healthy blend of Pokemon from all generations, but it mostly consisted of fan favorites like the Evolutions, Pikachu, Charizard, Beedrill, and even Dusclops got some love in this set. Vivid Voltage had desirable full art trainer cards and featured popular Rainbow Rare cards. This set also featured the only Pokemon card meme to come from the Sword and Shield era, with Pokemon collectors across the internet hunting for what the internet nicknamed Big Fat Gay Pikachu, or Chonkachu as I call him.
Another crack at the Fat Gay Pikachu. We'll see if we can get him today. So this
like I said earlier in this video, it would have honestly been my number one set if it didn't lack alt art cards. While the full art trainers and rainbow rares are nice, the beauty and elegance of full arts and alt art cards found in other sets on this list just puts Vivid Voltage below the other sets. If this set had more chase cards, it would be higher on my list. Number 6. Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith, released on January 20th, 2023, was the final send-off for the Sword and Shield era. This set consisted of nearly 200 cards and also featured the very popular Galarian Gallery subset, which depicted full art versions of common and uncommon card arts from previous sets. This set, even after heavy reprinting, is very desirable for collectors, featuring the fan-favorite gold versions of Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina that connected to form a single picture. This set suffered from one small issue that puts it just below the other sets on this list. While the trainer rare autograph cards were neat, the lack of alternate art cards from this set places it just below the other expansions on this list. Pulling a full art card will always get your heart pounding, but pulling an alt art card is like winning the lottery. Still a great set, don't get me wrong, just not as great as the next few expansions in this list. Number 5. Astral Radius. Released on May 27, 2021, Astral Radius was a slam dunk of an expansion when it came to its theming. With the recent release of the Pokemon Legends Arceus video game, the Pokemon Company decided to theme several of the common, uncommon, and even rare and chase cards around the new video game release. The alt art cards consisted of gorgeous depictions of Origin Form Dialga and Palkia, as well as other Housian versions of Pokemon. Even Astral Radius's trainer gallery had multiple Legends Arceus themed cards that got fans excited for the game. Even after multiple reprints, collectors are chasing the Machamp V alt art. This set has very few flaws besides an overabundance of rainbow rares that could have been given to more full art or alt art cards, but depending on who you ask, more rainbow cards might be a good thing. Number 4. Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies, released on August 27, 2021, was easily the most hyped set in the Sword and Shield era for two reasons. One, it was the other set like Fusion Strike that fell victim to corporate espionage, with thousands of valuable chase cards being stolen from the factory, which further pushed the hype around the few chase cards that did make it into circulation, but it also had alternate arts of not just multiple evolutions, but the fan-favorite Rayquaza. This set, while it had a wide array of both neat cards from rares to commons, the main hype behind this set was the $600 Moonbreon card, sought after by scalpers, collectors, and players alike. Unlike sets like Shining Fates or Champion's Path, whose hype was based around one popular card, Evolving Skies had numerous cards that were hunted by collectors, making this set both difficult and expensive to complete for you diehard fans in the audience. Number 3. Lost Origins. Lost Origins, released on September 9th, 2022, was a popular set among collectors and players alike. It featured Pokemon from the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th generation, as well as fan-favorite legendaries like Giratina and Rotom in unique alternate art forms. While normally sets that are built off the back of one popular chase card tend to turn me off, even I see the beauty of the Giratina chase card that made this set so popular. Many of the cards in this set also feature the Lost Origins Fog, a unique design choice that affected both card arts and the game in a cool way. Overall, this set was a well-rounded, healthy blend of Gen 3, Gen 6, and Gen 1 Pokemon. The trainer gallery also featured beautiful artwork that was inexpensive to buy on the secondary market and easy to pull with just a handful of packs thanks to Lost Origins' forgiving pull rates when compared to other sets from the Sword and Shield era. Number 2. Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars, released on February 25th, 2022, was the first set to introduce the trainer gallery subset. Unlike previous sets on this list, Brilliant Stars went hard with fan favorite Pokemon and references to past games that got collectors excited. Brilliant Stars not only featured a highly sought after Charizard Alt Art card featuring Charizard and Venusaur fighting, but multiple Alt Art cards that pushed the boundaries of just what a Pokemon card could be. Featuring heavily Gen 4 and Gen 5 Pokemon, Brilliant Stars was prided with a good release date, a good mix of Pokemon, and a popular trainer gallery subset, featuring fan favorites like Vaporeon, Mimikyu, and Dusknoir in fantastic looking full art cards. The attention Gen 4 Pokemon were given alongside gorgeous full art and alt art cards makes this set almost perfect if it had just as good alternate art cards as our number 1 spot. Number 1. Silver Tempest. Released on November 11th, 2022, Silver Tempest was the peak of set design when it came to the Sword and Shield era. It featured a trainer gallery subset that had not only numerous full arts for Pokemon previously relegated to common cards, but also featured not just 1 or 2, but 4 popular and well-designed alternate art cards. While other sets like Fusion Strike or Brilliant Stars had a few desirable alt art cards and a few that were ignored by the fanbase, all of Silver Tempest's alt art cards were perfect in their design, featuring Unknown, Regidrago, and Skuntank. This set also featured a fan favorite Lugia in a gorgeous alt art card that was chased by collectors even to this day. Silver Tempest also featured some uniform card art styles, with crystals and Alolan versions of Pokemon being common throughout all of the arts throughout the set, which provided a nice touch and attention to detail, often not seen in sets when it comes to theming. While most set themes are loosely followed or relegated to just the chase cards, every card in the Silver Tempest set was themed around Discovery, Crystals, and the Alolan regions. Silver Tempest truly walked, so sets like Crown Zenith and 151 could run later in the TCG history. And that is my personal opinion and ranking of all 18 of the Sword and Shield Pokemon card expansion sets. I had a lot of fun making this video, so let me know in the comments down below if you want more Pokemon card themed videos. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my ranking. I'm very curious to hear what your guys' favorite expansions are. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please take a moment to like and subscribe because it lets me know that you guys want more content and it helps me out in the algorithm. I hope you all have a great day, show some love to the common cards, and stay cool.